expression here is to fight tooth and nail. Okay, this it's kind of a fun and interesting one because we're talking about when a fight gets very, very difficult. So fight tooth and nail means to try very hard to get something you want, to try very hard. So how hard? We are using our teeth and our nails to fight. So you can see here these two guys in the picture, they have no weapons. They're just fighting with each other. So on your fingers, you have your fingernails, right? So you're using your fingernails as weapons and you're using your teeth as weapons to try to win the fight. So to fight tooth and nail means you're using everything that you have to win the fight. So for example, I had to fight tooth and nail to get a raise at work. Now, if you're trying to get a raise at work, you're probably not going to actually physically fight with your manager or your boss. And you're definitely not going to use your teeth and your nails to fight that person, right? But we can fight tooth and nail when we're saying we're trying very hard to do something or to get what we want. The next aspect of war we're going to look at are the weapons. So the main weapon in modern warfare is the gun, and we're actually not going to talk about guns in this video. That will be in the next lesson video. We have a whole lesson dedicated to guns. But in this one, we're going to look at some of the other weapons and the expressions we get from them. The first one is a powder keg. So to talk about a powder keg or to say that something is a powder keg, it means it's a situation that is dangerous and that could become violent. So before we had regular bullets that we put in the guns, people with guns would use gunpowder. So it's like a dust or like a powder that explodes. So they would have to physically put the gunpowder in the gun before they put the ball in there to shoot. Now they would store the gunpowder in these barrels called powder kegs. So it's gunpowder. It's a barrel of gunpowder. So we call it a powder keg. Now, if you have gunpowder, this thing is filled with gunpowder. If it gets too hot or if there's a fire or something, this whole thing's going to explode. So it's a very dangerous situation. So any situation in life that is dangerous and that could become violent, we can call that a powder keg. For example, our house was always a powder keg when Dad came home drunk. So this is unfortunately an experience that many people have growing up if they have a parent or parents who drink a lot of alcohol or drink too much. And so let's say Dad comes home and he's very, very drunk. He's drunk too much alcohol. And maybe he gets very angry or very violent when he does that. Then if he comes home drunk, maybe he's not angry yet, but he could very easily get angry and start yelling, start breaking things, start hitting people. So the situation is very dangerous. It's not bad right now, but it could become very, very bad. So we can call that a powder keg because this barrel of gunpowder could very easily blow up, just like the situation. The next one here is to call something a minefield. So a minefield is a situation that contains a lot of hidden problems and dangers. For example, buying a used car can be a minefield of repairs and unpredictable costs. So a minefield is an area of land where an army or a government has buried these little bombs in the ground called landmines. So these landmines are buried in the ground and there's lots and lots and lots of them. So often some military or some government will do this to make it so nobody wants to cross the land, like a border or something like that. So the whole area that is filled with these mines that are buried that you can't see them. They're all over the place, but you can't see them. So we would call this a minefield. Because you can't see them, if you try to walk through it, you're possibly going to step on one and blow up. And this still happens in the world today, unfortunately. But any situation that we go into that has a lot of hidden problems, we can call that situation a minefield. Like if you buy a used car, the car might look very nice on the outside. It might even drive pretty good, but you never know what kinds of problems the car might have if it's a used car. So we can call that used car a minefield because there might be lots and lots of problems with the car that you can't see. and you'll only find out by driving the car. Another expression here is a bombshell. So a bombshell, literally a bombshell is this. This is a bomb, right? So the thing that the bomb is in, we call the bombshell. The shell is the outside of it. So a bombshell as an expression has a couple meanings, actually. The first one is a shocking piece of news. So any kind of news that's really shocking or surprising, we can call it a bombshell. And often you'll hear the verb drop. So they dropped a bombshell because, like you can see here in the picture, this plane is dropping the bombshell. So if there's any kind of shocking or interesting, surprising piece of news, we can say, oh, they dropped a bombshell, or there was a bombshell report. For example, he dropped a bombshell when he announced he would resign. So this is surprising or sudden news. This is the first meaning of bombshell. The second meaning is actually a very beautiful woman. So we can call a very beautiful woman a bombshell. For example, wow, who's the bombshell in the red dress over there, right? It's kind of interesting that one is a shocking piece of news and one is a very beautiful woman. Now, actually, they made a movie called Bombshell, and the title of the movie Bombshell is actually using both definitions of bombshell, the shocking piece of news and a very beautiful woman, because the movie is about some female reporters at Fox News who were accusing one of the bosses at Fox News of sexual harassment. So the bombshell was the surprising news, the shocking news that the boss was sexually harassing these women. It was a big bombshell news story. But also these women were very beautiful women and blonde. Usually blonde women are referred to as bombshells. So they were beautiful women, and it was a shocking piece of news. So this movie, the title, was actually using both meanings of bombshell. The next expression here is to be up in arms. So to be up in arms just means to be angry or upset. And we usually use it for groups of people. For example, the students were up in arms when the teacher announced an unexpected test. So here the word arms is actually meaning the weapons. So whenever you see a group of people like raising weapons up, whether it's guns or swords or knives or whatever, they are up in arms, like they're raising their weapons in the air. So anytime anybody's angry or upset, we can say they're up in arms. The next aspect of war we're going to look at is defending. So the first expression here, or word, is just the word to defend. So we can defend someone or we can defend something. And this just means to protect someone or something from attack or harm. And this is a very literal meaning, to defend somebody. But when we're using this language, we're using it like we're thinking of the situation like the situation is a war. For example, it would be hard to run for political office because you would have to constantly defend yourself from attacks against your work, your character, and your family. So we can see the word attacks here. We can see the word defend. That means we're thinking of this situation of running for political office or being a politician. We're thinking of it like it's a war, right? And so you have to defend yourself. You have to defend your family. You have to defend your character, which is like your morality, from the attacks. So you're defending, and we can say the media, the news, they're attacking. Your people who are running against you are attacking. So we're viewing the situation like it's a war. Related to this is the word to be defensive or to be on the defensive. So defend is a verb, defensive is an adjective. So when we call somebody defensive, or we say that they are on the defensive, we mean that they feel criticized and they quickly try to explain themselves. For example, the student started to get upset and defensive when the teacher asked why he didn't do his homework. So here the student is trying to defend themselves because they feel like they're being attacked. And so they usually try to explain why they did what they did or make excuses, right? So they're acting defensive. They're being defensive. The next expression here is to hold down the fort. So this is a defensive thing. So a fort is like another word for a base. A fort used to be a smaller place that was like a military base. So to hold down the fort, literally it means to defend. The hold down here means to defend. So defend the fort. Now we use this expression to mean to have responsibility for something while someone else is absent. For example, I've got to go out of town for a meeting. Can you hold down the fort while I'm gone. So people will use this expression like if you're leaving home and you're telling your wife to take care of everything at home, you say, hold down the fort. Or if a wife leaves and tells her husband to take care of the house and the children, she might say, hold down the fort. Or at work, somebody might use this at work. If the boss is leaving and he wants somebody else to take care of business while he's gone, he'll say, hey, Bob, can you hold down the fort while I'm out? So it just means to take responsibility for something while someone else is absent or gone. To hold or to stand your ground is to refuse to change your opinion or to give in to an argument. For example, I kept trying to get my grandmother to find a smaller house, but she stood her ground. So the idea here is that when you're in the military, you are defending the ground. So this area, this is your area you're defending. That's your ground. And you're supposed to stand there to fight in case anybody wants to fight. You have to stand there or hold it. To hold it means to protect or defend it, like hold down the fort. So to stand your ground or to hold your ground, just basically it means to not change your mind about something, not change your opinion, or not give in to an argument. So if somebody's trying to get you to change your mind about something and you refuse to change your mind or you don't want to change your mind, then you are standing your ground. You're just protecting your opinion or you're protecting your stance or belief on something. So holding your ground or standing your ground, this is protecting it. Now, when you lose ground, then that means you're losing whatever it is you're trying to defend or protect. So to lose ground means to lose support, popularity, or an advantage in a situation. For example, it seems like police are losing ground in the fight to keep drugs out of schools and neighborhoods. So if the military, if the soldier is trying to protect this area and then somebody else comes and attacks it, if they attack and this guy, let's say he has to run away, he has to go somewhere else, then he lost the ground. He's losing ground. So we use this expression when anybody's losing support, when they're becoming less popular, or if they lose an advantage in a situation that they're in. So in the example here, the police are the ones losing ground to the drugs or the war on drugs. And with drugs, we actually talk about it. We call it the war on drugs. To have someone's back is to be willing and prepared to help or defend someone or to look out for someone else in case they need assistance. For example, you can always trust a good friend to have your back in case anything bad happens. So the idea here is that when you have soldiers fighting, in order to protect each other, they might stand back to back so that this guy can protect this way and this guy can protect this way. So this guy doesn't have to worry about what's behind him because his friend has his back. So we use this a lot with friendship. We can use it with coworkers. Basically, if anybody's helping us or defending us from someone else or something else, then if you're in an argument with somebody, you ask your friend, hey, do you have my back? That means, will you defend me in this situation? Similar to this is to shield someone from something, to shield them. So the shield is this tool that is used in old warfare. We don't really use them anymore. So the shield is a way to defend. So when you're shielding someone from something, you are protecting them from some kind of harm. For example, people buy insurance to shield themselves from financial problems in case of an accident. So insurance helps to shield you. It protects you from money problems in case something bad happens, right? So it's similar to having someone's back, except in this one, you have two people. One person is defending another person. In this one person is acting like the shield, or they're protecting something, or a thing can protect you. Like in this case, insurance is the shield. The next expression here is to lie low or to keep a low profile. This expression means to keep yourself hidden or inconspicuous. Basically make it so people can't see you very easily. So to lie low, you can see these guys here. They're laying on the ground. So they are lying. They're lying down, they're laying down, and they're low to the ground. They do this to make it difficult for people to hit them when they shoot, right? Because if you're small, if you're low to the ground, it's going to be harder to shoot you. So you might lie low or keep a low profile. It means the same thing. The profile is what people see from the side. That's your profile. So this is this guy's profile. This is his profile. This is his profile. It's the outline that you can see from the side. So to keep a low profile means that you are low to the ground so that all people can see is this part right here. They can't see really your legs or your arms very well. So how do we use this one? For example, after the actor Shia LaBeouf was, or LaBeouf, I can't remember which one it is. He's an actor anyway. When the actor Shia LaBeouf was arrested for being drunk in public, he tried to lie low for a while until people mostly forgot about it. But he hasn't been able to keep a low profile because he keeps doing the same thing over and over again. So if you're trying to not get noticed by other people, if you don't want them to notice something that you're doing, or even to notice that you're there, we can call it lying low or keeping a low profile. And if you watch the video that had the expressions that come from airplanes, there was an expression to fly under the radar. This is very similar to that. To lie low or keep a low profile is like flying under the radar. The next expression here is in the trenches. Now this one is like being on the front lines, but the idea is a little bit different. So in the trenches is working in the most active and difficult parts of a job or business. For example, many company owners don't know what it's like for normal workers because the boss isn't in the trenches every day like the workers are. So if you are in the trenches, that means you're actually in the war, you're in the battle. The trench is this here. If you look at this picture, like in World War I, the soldiers often fought in trenches. So the trench is like the hole. It's like a long hole that they dig in the ground. This is the trench. And they would fight in these trenches because then the people that are shooting at them, they can't really see anything. Maybe they can see the top of their head or something like that. So it was a way to protect themselves. But this was a very dangerous place to be because if there's a bomb or something else, then these guys are all going to die. So when we say in the trenches, we're talking about the most active and difficult part of a job or a situation. So these guys are in the trenches. That means these ones are actually fighting in a difficult situation. So sometimes you might hear them say that the doctors and the nurses are on the front lines. Sometimes they might say that they're in the trenches. The next aspect of war that we're going to look at is retreating. Retreating just means running away or leaving the battle. So one expression we get from this is to burn your bridges. To burn your bridges means to ruin or to destroy any way of returning to a previous place or situation. For example, when you quit a job, don't burn all your bridges with your boss and coworkers because you never know if you might need to come back in the future. So this expression comes from in history, when an army was retreating, when an army was leaving a place and they had to cross a bridge, they would burn the bridge so that the army they were fighting with can't follow them. So they would burn the bridge so that nobody could follow them. Now, when we talk about burning bridges now, we're meaning ruining a way of going back to where you came from, going back to a situation or going back to a job. So we could use this one with work. We could use it with a relationship. Like if you're breaking up with somebody, you don't want to break up in a really bad way because you never know if you might want to go back and be with that person again. The next aspect of war here is defeat. So when we get defeated in war. The first expression here is to fight a losing battle. To fight a losing battle. So this means to try hard to do something when there's no chance that you will succeed. There's no way to win. For example, trying to keep your car clean in Minnesota in the winter is fighting a losing battle. It's fighting a losing battle because there's no way to keep your car clean in Minnesota in the winter. Because no matter how clean you get it, once you drive on the road, it's going to get dirty again. So it's a losing battle, which means there's no way to succeed or win the battle. So to fight an uphill battle means you're doing something that's very difficult, but you can possibly succeed. Fighting a losing battle means that there's no way to succeed. There's no way to win. So you're just continuing to fight or to do something even though you can't succeed in it. To go down fighting is to continue to fight or make a strong, determined effort even though you're likely to fail or lose. So even if you're going to lose, even if you're not going to be successful, you're going to try your best until the very end. That means to go down fighting. For example, he may have lost the election, but he went down fighting. For example, whether you like him or dislike him, Donald Trump lost the election and he went down fighting, which means he continued to try and win or get reelected even until the very end, until the day almost of the inauguration of Joe Biden. So we can say that Donald Trump went down fighting. He's not president now, so he lost, but he continued to try and win the election or to get reelected as president again, even though he was losing. So he went down fighting. So any situation where you continue to make an effort, even though you're going to lose or fail. And then when we finally fail, we wave the white flag. To wave the white flag is to offer a sign of surrender or defeat, or to yield or give in. For example, if you want to have a peaceful marriage, sometimes you just need to wave the white flag instead of trying to win the argument. So in traditional warfare, when an